Hey friends, I'm Bree. Welcome to my channel. Happy February, you guys. I am so excited about today's video. I reached out to a group of my girlfriends and I asked if they would send me what their favorite romance that they read in January was. Here we are in February. There are quite a few readathons that are happening here on BookTube this month, and there are quite a few challenges that center around reading a romance. So I thought it would be fun to kind of get a list of what our recently read favorite romances were for you guys in case you need a little bit of inspiration for your TBRs. Links to everyone's channels will be linked down below, so make sure you check the description box. Go check out these ladies and subscribe to their channels. The amazing thing about the romance genre is it is so huge and we all read a little bit of everything, so hopefully you find something in this list that piques your interest. And without further ado, let's get to the video.
Hey y'all, my name is Avery from the channel Avery Loves Books. I am a romance reader here on BookTube, and my favorite book that I read in January was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by TALIA HIBBERT. This is actually the Lovely Ladies book club pick for the month of January. There is a romance book club that me and my friends Jen and Ashley put on once a month, and we pick a romance book to read. This was our pick for January, and this is about our main character named Chloe, who has fibromyalgia, which is a chronic illness, and she decides that she has been living kind of like a boring life and she really wants to make her life more exciting, so she makes a get a life list, which is a list of a bunch of things that she wants to do with her life to make her life more exciting. And she basically moves out of her parents' house and moves into an apartment, and there her superintendent is REID. It's their relationship, and REID helps her complete this get a life list. I mainly just loved this two reasons. I really loved REID and Chloe. Their characters, their relationship was so sweet, so beautiful. I loved them a lot. I also loved this book because I have a chronic illness myself. It's called POTS, and I experience a lot of what Chloe goes through. So I really loved how that was a part of this book because I haven't read a lot of books that talk about chronic illness, and I loved that part of it because I got to see a bunch of myself in Chloe. And I love Chloe, I love REID, I love this book. Please go read it. It's amazing and wonderful, and yeah.
Hey there, it's Bree from InLoveAndWords, and my favorite romance read for January was A Quiet Kind of Thunder by SARA Barnard. This is a YA romance about a girl who is a selective mute and a boy who is deaf. Aside from the absolutely adorable romance and the super swoony hero in this, I think my favorite thing about it was the representation of anxiety and how it talks about it, and also how this book was written. Even though it looks like a pretty hefty book, this is around 400 pages or so, the author does a really good job of breaking up the narrative with different lists and different messaging conversations and everything. I felt like it was so well done. It's been a while since I read a YA contemporary romance, and this kind of motivated me to pick up more YA. I've been reading a lot of adult romance lately, but this book I absolutely adored. The hero in this is so sweet, and the writing is so good, and the main character I loved so much. I felt like the author did such a great job of describing the main character's selective mutism and also bringing you into the deaf world and the different challenges that both of these characters face. It was full of all the things that I love in a YA romance. It was a lot of learning and stumbling along the way, but also a bit of a whirlwind as well. Both of them learning to live in each other's world. And I love this book so much. I knew that I was going to like it just by reading the synopsis for it. I didn't realize how much I was going to like it.
Hi, I'm Jen from the Book Refuge, and in January, my favorite romance that I read was Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. I was really anticipating this book. I really loved Fix Her Up last year. It was a really fun read, but this one, which is the second in the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey, is about a couple, Dominic and Rosie, who've been together since they were kids. They've been married almost a decade, and they've lived through Dominic having a few deployments. He's a Marine, and Rosie has kind of deferred her dreams while he was away, and then having him back the last few years, she's kind of just been waiting for anything to move forward with the dreams that she has, which is to become a chef and own her own restaurant. They really get into an interesting situation when Rosie decides that she is not satisfied with their once a week sex nights and nothing else happening in their relationship. She feels like there's a distance that just cannot be breached, and she's ready to cut ties even with the love of her life so she can pursue her dreams. Dominic feels like he's doing everything he's supposed to do for her, but also that it's not enough. He really wants to provide for Rosie and give her everything that she needs. And he feels like he's doing that, working as hard as he can, providing for her, making sure there's a roof over her head and food in her belly. But that's not what Rosie is needing. And there's a miscommunication disconnect that is tearing them apart. So when Dominic demands a chance at therapy, at anything, a chance to work on it, Rosie, who doesn't really think there's any hope, picks the craziest therapist that she can, hoping that Dominic will throw in the towel and just let her go. But she underestimates how determined Dominic is to win her back. This novel was so beautiful. It touched me so deeply. And though I'm not married and I don't understand that dynamic fully, one of the things this book touches on is love languages, which is something I am extremely passionate about and I love so much. And this book really dives in to the uncomfortable corners of a relationship when you're not communicating your love correctly. You can have all the love for a person that you possibly could, and if you don't have the correct ways to show it, and that person therefore can't receive it because they don't understand that the things you're doing are out of love, you're just gonna keep being ships in the night, passing each other and never fully connecting the way you're supposed to. So this book was raw and painful because it isn't just Dominic who's not communicating his love in a way that Rosie can understand. Rosie is finding that she's also not meeting Dominic's needs the way that he needs. And this book is a completely different vibe to me than Fixer Up was, so if that wasn't totally your thing, I really, really urge you to give this a try. It was still very sexy, but it was less about the raunchy sex and more about these two trying to connect, and they desperately want to, and they've just been missing it. And the crazy therapist and his techniques that are able to bring them back together. So there you go. That was my favorite romance of January.
Hi guys, it's Ashley from ASHHEARTBOOKS, and my favorite romance for January was Dalliance's and Devotion by Felicia Grossman. This was a historical romance set during the time kind of right after the Civil War in Philadelphia. And I really loved the setting, that it was set kind of somewhere different. Philadelphia is a place that I hadn't really read about. So our main character in this is a really feisty, super smart heroine. She also has already been divorced twice and she's only 25. That does come to play in the story, and you kind of figure out what's going on and how this has happened. And then our hero is a Pinkerton. So he is actually sent to kind of have to protect our heroine because she has a bit of a reputation, and so she's been getting some like threats on her life, so he has to protect her, which I love. And basically the story just had it all for me. I loved it. It was like a perfect historical romance, but even if you don't like them, I would say give it a try because I thought it was so easy to like get into and jump into. This one also has our two main characters are Jewish, which is just really unique. I hadn't really read about too many characters that were Jewish, and I really, really enjoyed kind of getting to learn more about their culture and some of the holidays and things like that that I just really didn't know about. I thought that was a really fun and really unique part of the book. This one also had some amazing tropes. It had like brother's best friend trope, it had we're on the run trope, and it also had one of my personal favorites, oh no, there's only one bed trope, or at least it was like one bedroom. So it really had everything. I love this historical, and I'm really excited to check out some more books by Felicia Grossman too.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe and my channel is Always Booked, and I'm on today to tell you my favorite romance of January 2020. And now this was hands down easy, no problem. My favorite was Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is a backlist book that I have been wanting to get to forever, and it was so good. 5 stars, first one of the year, so good. Really recommend it. It's about two people who meet when they're young, and we get to watch them in that timeline when they're like 13, early teens, sometime like that. And then we also get to see present day. They are not together. She's with somebody else. He's with somebody else. Then they run back into each other. So it's a second chance romance, and I loved it. We got to see their love story unfold as teenagers, so we really got connected to the characters. And then we got to see what happened between them that broke them apart, and then what they do now that they're adults and have these different lives going, and just how they make it work. So this was so good. Highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, please check it out. So good. You won't regret it.
Hello everybody, my name is Stephanie and I have a channel called Steph's Romance Book Talk, and for my January favorite, which is super hard to do, I am going to tell you guys to go check out Siren by Hazel Grace. This would have to be one of my favorites for January 2020, and the reason for this is because it is a fairy tale retelling slash reimagining of The Little Mermaid. It takes so many twists and turns that I was completely engaged with this book, and it's a dark romance, so go into that a little bit wearier than normal, but for the most part, this retelling takes that twist of mermaids and the 7 daughters of Triton and really flips it on its end. I really enjoyed the sort of love triangle that ends up happening within this story, but at the same time, there's lots of mystery and changes that have been made. It's not your cute little sweet Ariel Little Mermaid story. It is definitely something different and new, and I think you guys should go check that out.
Hey there, my name is Kayla and my YouTube channel is On the Fritz, where I mostly read paranormal romance and science fiction. And let's talk about my favorite romance book of January. So, surprisingly, my favorite read of January is a contemporary romance, and that is Beard Science by Penny Reid. This is book 3 in the Winston Brothers series. This is a small town romance set in Tennessee, and it follows these brothers and one sister, so it's a close-knit group of siblings who had recently just lost their mother, and it's just kind of them finding their way through life after this big life change, and they're happily ever afters. Beard Science follows Cletus Winston, and he's kind of the black sheep of the family. Everyone thinks he's weird. He needs things a certain way. He takes interest in very unique things. He does not like change. And his love interest is a little bit younger than him, and she's from the same small town, and her name is Jennifer Sylvester, and she's known as the Banana Cake Queen. So ever since she was 16, she's been winning all these awards for her baking. She's always seen in high heels. Her hair is done flawlessly, which is bleach blonde, and she always has a full face of makeup with false lashes, whether she's baking or out in public. And it turns out that her parents are very strict, and she does all these things for them and nothing for her. She's very quiet, and so since she's quiet, she's always observing and watching people. And she has been watching Cletus for some time, and she knows how he is really. And she decides to blackmail him because she wants to get married and she wants to have a family. And so that's like the plot point, but really the book is about just Jen discovering who she is outside of her family and outside of baking. I read it partly on audio and partly on ebook. The audiobooks are amazing. The male narrator for the brothers has this really deep, attractive southern accent, and then there's a handful of different female voice actors for the women, so it's not just the same one in each book. If you're looking for a contemporary romance audiobook as well, definitely check these out. And let me know if you do. I would love to hear what you think of any of these books in the Winston Brothers series.
Hey everyone, my name is Tasha. I am Book Diva here on BookTube, and I wanted to jump on here real quick and tell you guys about my favorite book of January. I read Nadia Lee's Mary and My Billionaire Boss, and I had got sent this book for a review, and I absolutely adored it. It's about this girl who moved to LA to start over after a bad breakup in her small hometown, and she is a kind of an assistant to this big hotshot billionaire guy, and she ends up getting talked into buying him at a auction for a date because he didn't want anyone else to buy him. So she helped him out, which ended in a trip to Vegas and an accidental wedding and an accidental pregnancy. I laughed so hard at this book. It had cute moments. It had some of those. It had it all, really. I mean, it had the angst. It had, you know, they loved each other, they hated each other, ended in a happily ever after. Definitely go check this out. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so go check it out.
So hands down, my favorite romance of January was Waterbound by Christine FEEHAN. This is book 1 in her Sea Haven series. This book really took me by surprise. I knew that I was in the mood for a paranormal romance, but I was not expecting what I got when I read this book. It's the perfect balance of paranormal with suspense. I was not expecting the suspense element. Our heroine Ricky in this book is autistic, and I really like how the author handled that. It's not some big thing put on for show. You as the reader slowly pick up on her mannerisms throughout the book. You see the hero pick up on her mannerisms throughout the book and slowly start to piece the pieces of the puzzles together. And what I adored about him, so the heroine is Ricky and the hero is Lev, and once he starts to figure out that Ricky is autistic, rather than get frustrated in the different situations that he's like coming to terms that this is what is normal for her, he internally is trying to figure out what adjustments he needs to make to fit into her life. And that just totally sold me on him. Ricky controls the element of water. The ocean is where these two met, and a lot of the analogies in this book are like water analogies. It was just really beautiful. It's a really beautiful story. These are two people who have found each other and have essentially kind of been navigating the world as loners. Ricky does live on a farm with her sisters, but she's very protective of them. Throughout her life, everywhere that she lived, she would lose people to fire. She ended up in the foster care system because her parents were killed in a fire that she survived, and people started to really look at her suspiciously, like, what is it about her that she is like the one that's continuing to live? And once Lev comes into the picture, this really doesn't make any sense to him, and he makes it his mission to make her realize that she was not the cause of these people dying. And that's where the suspense element comes in, and it was just wonderful. He became one of my favorite heroes. I was not the biggest fan of him at first. You have to really grapple with the fact that he was trained to be this assassin. He was trained to be this killer, and it took some time for him to open up, but once he did, it just, how he treated Ricky was phenomenal. And she was not this like damsel in distress either. Like, there were moments where she had her moments of being tough and being strong. It made me cry. I loved this book, you guys. If you're looking for a good paranormal series to start, I highly recommend this one. I feel like I talked about it a lot throughout January and now into February, but it is definitely worth the hype. It's really good. So those are our favorite January romances, you guys. Let us know down in the comments below what your favorite romance from January was. We would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Have a good day. Bye.